All right, welcome everybody. Today we're reading Walt Disney's Peter Pan and Captain Hook, a classic tale. Peter Pan and all his buddies. This is a map, and that says Neverland. Peter Pan lives in Neverland. So this is a map where everything is. There's Captain Hook's ship, and we'll visit some of these other places too on the map in our story. It was the best time of the day. The lamps were lighted in the bedroom. Wendy sat by the fire. "Tell us a story, Wendy," said the brother John. "A pirate story with Indians in it," cried Michael. So Wendy told her brothers a story. It had pirates and Indians in it, but it began with Peter Pan. Peter Pan was a boy. He was very brave. He could crow like a rooster. Best of all, he could fly. He could fly high. He could fly low. He could race with the clouds and chase the stars. He could slide down the rainbow. Peter's best friend was the tiny fairy Tinker Bell. Tink could fly too. She never talked, but she would stand on Peter's hand. Tiny lights flashed, and she made tinkling sounds. Peter could always understand her. Peter and Tink lived in Neverland. It was a magic place. Indians camped in the woods, there was a pirate ship in the bay near Skull Rock, and there were Hangman's Tree. Peter's home was a secret cave under Hangman's Tree. He lived in the cave with his friends. These friends were the Lost Boys. They had no mothers or fathers, but they did have Peter and Tink, and the safe secret cave. One day, Peter and Tink went out flying. The Lost Boys couldn't fly. They tried to think of something else to do, something that would be fun. "I know," said one. "Let's go fight the Indians. We can creep up on them," another said. "We'll catch them," cried a third. They began creeping through the woods. They were going toward the Indian camp. "Shh," said one of the boys. "An Indian may be hiding behind every tree." There was not an Indian behind every tree. There was an Indian inside every tree. The Indians leapt out and caught the Lost Boys. "Help, Peter!" shouted the boys. "Tinker Bell, save us!" Peter and Tinker Bell did not hear the boys. Peter and Tink were on Skull Rock. "Look," said Peter. He pointed across the water. Tink looked and saw a boat. In it, she saw Peter's enemy, the terrible pirate, Captain Hook. And she saw Tiger Lily. She also saw Hook's mate, Mr. Smee. There's Tiger Lily. The beautiful Indian princess. Tiger Lily was tied with thick ropes. The poor girl was Captain Hook's prisoner. Suddenly there was a loud tick-tock, tick-tock. It came from a crocodile swimming near the boat. Captain Hook jumped out of the boat. He climbed up onto the rock. "That crocodile follows me everywhere," he cried. "He wants to eat me." "Lucky for you he swallowed that clock," said Smee. "The tick-tock always tells you when he is near." Smee lifted Tiger Lily onto Skull Rock. Tell me where Peter Pan lives, said Hook, or you will never leave Skull Rock. You codfish, shouted Peter, flying down. He pulled Smee's cap over his eyes. Then he flew over to Captain Hook. He pushed him right into the water. Peter untied Tiger Lily. He carried her up and away from Skull Rock. Peter flew with Tiger Lily to the Indian camp. The Lost Boys were there. They were still tied up. Tiger Lily's father was at the camp too. He was a great chief with many feathers in his headdress. You saved Tiger Lily, he said. Because of that, we will let your friends go. We will have a feast and sing and dance. But where was Tinker Bell? Tink had stayed at Skull Rock. She was watching Captain Hook swim away from the tick-tocking crocodile. Suddenly, Mr. Smee popped his cap over Tink. She stopped laughing. Cheer up, Captain, said Smee. We have lost Tiger Lily, but we have someone better. We have Peter Pan's best friend, Tinker Bell. Peter Pan and the Lost Boys were leaving the Indian camp. It was very late. The deep forest was dark. They needed Tinker Bell's flashing lights to show them the way. Tink must be at home, said Peter. They came to Hangman's Tree. They stepped on a mushroom beside the path. Then they pressed a knothole near a low branch. The door to the secret cave opened. No jingling, ringling sound greeted them. No fairy light flashed out to cheer them. The cave was empty. What has happened to Tinker Bell? Cried Peter Pan. Michael pulled at Wendy's hand. What did happen to Tinker Bell? He asked. What did Captain Hook do with her? He took her to the pirate ship, said Wendy. What then? Asked John. Captain Hook and Mr. Smee plotted a terrible plot. They wanted to make Peter Pan come to the pirate ship to save Tinker Bell. Then they would capture Peter. The pirates locked Tinker Bell in a lantern outside the ship's cabin, where she stayed, tinkling and shining and calling for help. But now Peter Pan was looking for Tinker Bell. He flew here and there across Neverland. Finally, he saw the fairy light on the pirate ship. Quickly, Peter flew to Hangman's Tree. Captain Hook has Tinker Bell, he told the Lost Boys. We have to save her. Quietly, quietly, the boys swam from the shore to the pirate ship. Quietly, quietly, they came and climbed up the rope and onto the deck. Peter Pan flew to the top of the mast. Hook, you old codfish, he crowed. The pirates rushed out onto the deck. It's Pan, shouted Hook. Fire the cannon, said Mr. Smee. Smee tried to fire the cannon, but one of the boys ran off with his cannonball. Another boy chased Smee around the deck with a shiny sword. Peter Pan flew down from the mast. He cut the feather off Captain Hook's hat. The frightened pirate fell into the sea, but who was waiting in the water? Who do you think was waiting in the water for Captain Hook? Tick-tock, tick-tock. The tick-tocking crocodile was waiting. Captain Hook swam for his life. He swam and he swam and he swam. For all we know, he is swimming still. Peter Pan and the Lost Boys let Tinker Bell out of the lantern. Then they hurried to their secret cave under Hangman's Tree. What happened then? Asked Michael. Peter Pan and Tinker Bell and the Lost Boys went to sleep, said Wendy. And that's where you are going. She tucked her brothers into bed. Is there really a Peter Pan? Asked John. Will we ever see him? Perhaps someday, said Wendy. That's a pretty nice big sister, huh? Reading her brothers' stories before bedtime. Later that night, a soft tinkling sound woke Wendy. She saw a flickering light. Then a boy's shadow flew past the window. You see her window? Wendy smiled. She had finally seen Peter Pan. At least she had seen his shadow, and she had heard Tinker Bell's tinkling sound. Wendy's eyes closed again, and she was fast asleep.